Today, I'm going to be ranking the 10 best characters on Lost. Here we go. Coming in at number 10, Richard Alpert. Not only does he have eyeliner on at all times, literally born that way, he is such an influential character in this show. Let's talk about his episode that kind of shows his whole past. He's really the only character we get to meet where we don't learn anything about them until pretty much the last season. I mean, except for Jacob and the Men in Black, but that's its own thing. Richard Alpert is an influential character for the entire origin story of the island. He has had a rough past, let me tell you, and honestly, probably been made fun of a lot for his eyeliner, so for that, I'm going to put him at number 10. I like him. I think he's really loyal. I think he's a good character. I love his backstory. I honestly want a spin-off show. Would love just a spin-off show based off his entire history on the island. That would be sick. Coming in at number 9, I kind of cheated the system here a little bit, but I made Jin and Sun one character, essentially. They both have such unique backstories. It's so interesting that in 2004, they had Sun and Jin, okay. First of all, their episodes take place entirely in Korean, which is so fucking dope. People were probably like, oh my god, I can't believe this episode is in Korean. And not only that, but Sun comes, from wealth and power, and Jin comes literally from, the guts of fish and, garbage town. They still find each other, and their love is forever endless. So much happens with their relationship, lots of ups and downs, not to mention a couple years there where Sun literally thought Jin was dead. The storyline is intense. They come together, they grow together, they die together, and leave their kid an orphan, which is something I have a problem with, but it is what it is. Can't answer every question, you know what I mean? Sun is such a badass, I'm sorry. Coming in at number 8, Dan Faraday. Okay, I love Dan Faraday from the moment he came onto the show. He's super smart, and you can tell, even though he's meant to be kind of a bad guy when they start on the show, genuinely cares about people's well-being and doing what's right. And I think a lot of the show's storyline comes from him. I mean, he is the whole time travel. I love his backstory. I love his connection with Desmond. I love everything about Dan Faraday. I think he's such a cool character, and he had to be on the list for me. Yeah. Okay, coming in at number 7, we have Benjamin Linus. Okay, where do I even start? I mean, Michael Emerson is an incredible actor. He did not get enough recognition for his acting in that show. Also, I'm worried about Ben's health. He is beat up so much physically throughout the show and emotionally in his childhood, but he's scary as fuck. I mean, you don't trust him from the moment he's Henry Gale. You do not trust him, but sometimes you kind of do, and I think that's what he does really, really well, even though he's so manipulative and he's done so many horrible things to so many people. You fucking love him. You hate him, but you love him. You hate to love him, and I think his history and storyline is so interesting. I mean, yeah, he sucks. At the same time, you kind of feel bad for him sometimes. His mom died when he was born, and his dad was an asshole, and he kind of was led the wrong way, but it was all part of the greater picture and God and Jacob and whatever you want to call it. He cares about the island, not more than he cares about himself. I love his character. I think he's funny. I think he's horrifying. Literally, that is what gave me nightmares when I was watching the show, because his face is so petrifying. No offense. But yeah, I think he does an amazing, amazing job at that character. Wow. Coming in at number 6, we have Charlie Pace. Yes, I was shocked that he wasn't in the top 3. I really, truly was. I have seen this show 6 times, which is disgusting. If you were to ask me this when the show was airing, Charlie was my favorite character, without a doubt. I mean, I can't deny that. When you watch the show for the first time, you create a bond with Charlie. I mean, he's comedic relief. His storyline is intense. He has so many ups and downs. You trust him. You feel bad for him. You love him. Starting as, kind of a degenerate, washed up artist who was addicted to heroin, really only want what's best for him. Obviously, he has the most heroic death on the show. Greatest Hits is one of my favorite episodes of all time. It literally made me make a list of the greatest moments of my life. I love Charlie. I was obsessed with him growing up. Do I wish he was on the show for longer? Absolutely. At the same time, though, his death was necessary for the show to go on, in my opinion. I love Charlie, and he will always hold a special place in my heart, but for some reason, I put him at number 6, and I don't know why, but it is what it is. Sorry, Charlie. Okay, coming in at number 5, I have Juliet, which blew my mind too. I know, guys. God, what a badass. She is one of the most interesting characters on the show because you never fucking know if you can trust her. Truly, from the beginning to the end, I'm like, are you good or are you bad? Like, what's the deal? I think she just really wants to get the fuck off the island, doesn't trust one group over another group. She fucking hates Ben, I mean, and for good reason. Just really, really has a horrible past. She is kidnapped and forced to stay on the island because Ben is so in love with her. She's just seeing her work, her patients continuously die, which is traumatic in its own way. I feel really bad for her, but she is such a badass. She goes through so much, and I love her so much. I think she's one of the coolest characters on the show. I'm literally out of breath from talking about Julia. Number 4, Sawyer. This one shocked me as well. Back in the day, when the show was live, I absolutely hated Sawyer. I thought he was the worst character on the show. I don't like people like mean like that. He's a pretty shitty person, I would say, overall. He's like classic toxic masculinity, but really is a little baby when it comes to his emotions and everything. He cares so much about Kate. He cares so much about Juliet. I mean, he really is a deep emotional lover, but it's hard to understand that when you're like 9 years old watching the show and you just like hate him because he's mean to people. But, you know, opportunities to rewatch the show so much, every time I find more and more reasons why I love Sawyer so much. Even in the last few seasons, I love him as LaFleur. I think it's so cool that you see him go from a con artist who's really awful and does a lot of cons for like bad reasons. The last few seasons where he cons people for good reasons or for reasons that are, you know, not benefiting him but benefiting everyone in a good way. I think he's probably one of the most developed characters on the show. Yeah, he really takes an arc, man. Coming in at number 3, I have John Locke. A lot of people's favorite character for sure. Locke is incredibly passionate. He's a teacher, he's a mentor, he's such a faith in the island. No one believes in the island more than John. Also a guy whose life has fucking sucked. I mean, he has had some rough goes of it. He has such an interesting history with his dad. Oh, he was essentially an accident. His mom is cuckoo nuts, and then his dad steals his kidney, treats him like shit, literally tries to kill him, pushes him out of a window. This man has been through so much. At the same time, he is trying to persevere through everything, you know, everything that life throws at him, and find meaning. I mean, he's a survivor. I mean, he's built that way. His whole life has been surviving. Not only that, but Terry O'Quinn is such a good actor. You know, when he becomes kind of the man in black, the smoke, he's so good at distinguishing Locke versus the man in black. Even though it's the same body, the character is so different, and you truly can see that when I'm watching those episodes. Damn, does Locke just get shit though, you know? God, he's a rough life. Also, like, a douche a lot of the time. You didn't need to knife Naomi in the back, you know? Didn't need to set the submarine on fire. At the end of the day, Locke is an incredibly important character for the show and someone who is beloved by so many people. Just at number 2, I have Hugo Reyes, Hurley. I mean, it's no secret that Hurley is most people's favorite character. He is the comedic relief of the show, but at the same time has a very in-depth history and storyline. I love how even in 2004 they were bringing, you know, mental illness into it, and body shaming and so many issues that people were not talking about in 2004. In 2004, if you didn't wear low-rise jeans and you weren't this big and your eyebrows were like this, you were not pretty. Like, look at all the women on Lost. They all look the same. They're all skinny. They're all pretty. Sorry, that was a rant. Hold on. I relate a lot to Hurley. He really is a light of positivity throughout the show. I think Hurley sees the best in people, and a lot of the time he's used because of that. Really deep down, he's trying to tell everyone, you know, we're in this together, we can do this. And I think that makes him so likable because he's a little bit of hope in this, you know, kind of really sad story. Hurley, I don't know, he's special. He really, even though he starts out as kind of like, oh, Hurley, ha ha, he really ends up being one of the most important characters on the show. And he's everyone's best friend. I mean, he's so positive and so kind and caring. Obviously, that makes him so likable. And we have the same hair, so I just like him because of that. Coming in at number 1 is my all-time favorite character in Lost, Desmond Hume. A lot of research, a lot of people like Desmond. I think he is the understandable choice for being the best character on the show if you're looking at it on a character basis. I mean, he is literally the most important character. He is the reason why everyone comes together. He literally crashes the plane. Not only does he do that, but at the end of the show, he brings everyone back together again, who has insight. The island chose him to be this dude. And he's so heroic. He really puts everyone before himself. He's incredibly selfless. From the moment Desmond is on the show, it is epic. He comes into the show at such a, if not the best season. The Hatch storyline is incredible. You learn so much about the island. You learn so much about the Dharma Initiative. Who is this guy? What's he gonna be? Is he good? Is he bad? He's the best. His storyline with Penny is my favorite on-screen romance in any show, movie, anything. I am a diehard fan of Desmond and Penny. I would only dream to have a relationship like Desmond and Penny. Desmond's episode in season 4 where, you know, he gets onto the freighter and he's able to make contact with Penny. It's one of the most romantic scenes in history of, like, television. I think he's such a good actor and plays the character perfectly. Literally want to name my son Desmond. I want to have a husband named Desmond. I am obsessed. I love Desmond. Did I skip someone? Is Saeed really not on here? Holy. I gotta put Saeed in here, right? He's like the most badass character on the show. He brings the action to the show. He literally kills people like this and cracks their neck and they're dead. He is a natural born killer, and even though that's the case, he's fucking awesome and is such a good person. Let me remind you that this takes place in 2004, this show. So this is kind of a time where people were super racist against people from the Middle East. Not to mention, you take a TV show where you have a literal plane crash, and one of the main characters is someone from Iraq who's a torturer. It's amazing that they were so progressive with this show. I'm gonna make this like cool Iraqi guy who's like does backflips and shit one of the lead characters, and you're gonna fucking love him, and you do. And I just think it's really cool because it's kind of just, at the time, might have been seen as controversial. Yeah, Saeed's amazing. How did I not? Alright, you guys, thank you so much for watching. I feel like no one's gonna agree with my list. It's kind of all over the place. It's just how I feel right now. The best thing about this show is every time you watch it, it changes. This was one of the first shows on television that serialized like characters in this way. There wasn't really a show before this that had such intense character development. I don't think we would have shows like Breaking Bad or Game of Thrones, shows where you are so invested in the characters' lives. This was that. This was the first show that kind of did that. When this show was live, the best part about it was having to wait till the next week, making your own theories about what was happening, and you were never right. I really respect the show and how in-depth it is. And yes, there are some cracks. Yes, there are some unanswered questions. I mean, give them a break. I mean, it's a tough thing to make. Let me know in the comments your favorite characters. Go watch Lost again if you've only seen it once or twice or 3 times or 4 times. Watch it a 5th time. I'm still learning new stuff, man. Blows my mind.